Hello and welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes tabletop role-playing settings and historical research. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson. This week, Brewing in the 13th century. I've been listening to The London and Country Brewer, which was an anonymous book completed in the late 19th century, recorded into the public domain by LibriVox. It's fascinating in that it describes an industrial process which is still followed today by craft brewers, but to which I'd no real exposure. Given that brewing, at least to the level of creating small beer, is a task found in all communities above a climatological line in Mythic Europe, it gave me some insights into Covenant life. Magi have the best beer of anyone in Mythic Europe. The process of making beer is that barley is soaked and left to germinate, then dried. The fuel used to dry the malt gives it some of its flavour. The anonymous brewer suggested coke and coal without sulphur are the best, as they give the cleanest flavour. Coke is technically unknown in Mythic Europe, and sea coal, as it is called, to differentiate it from charcoal, is rare if known. The next best choice is dry straw, and that's presumably available because it can be harvested from the fields of barley. It gives the beer a grassy taste, but it's not as bad as either the smoky flavour of wood or the weird flavour of burned bracken. Magi can produce smokeless heat, and so their beer is like that made in modern electrical kilns, free from undesired flavours. Mythic Europeans rarely use hops. Hops are the flowers of a particular vine used as a bittering agent. This counteracts the sweet flavour given to the beer by the process of fermenting barley starches into sugars. Hops are only used in Germany at this point, 1220, and this use is far from universal, but in the 13th century, that's when it starts to spread out, a new technology that rolls across the continent. It is found that hopped beer lasts longer. Lacking hops, herbal mixtures are used for bittering. This is called gruit, and different areas and brewers use their own gruits. When hops are taxed, people use gruit, and when gruit is taxed, people switch to hops. Later, during the Reformation, gruit use was seen as a Protestant practice because in many areas the monopoly on hops was held by monasteries. And now some quick plot hooks. Gruit. There's a subset of Grimm and Magi who've been trying to make enlightening beer for generations. Some gruits are literally hallucinogenic. What happens when one of these crewmen gets it right, or right enough, that drunk people develop magical powers? Hops. It's fortunate for Mythic Europeans that hops appeared at this time. Are they a fairy plant? Or do new fairies cluster about the new technology? Monastic taxes. Hermetic Magi can make as many hops as they like as part of magical brewing. It's covered by the ingredients exemption in Rego Magic. The problem is that if hops are a monastic monopoly in the local area, being able to make them is depriving the monastery of its income. They may take action against the Covenant's theft of church money. And to finish on a ghost story, a Brewster has died without passing on the recipe of her family's prized gruit. Can the player characters call her up and convince her ghost to part with it?